So I'm going to click that go live button, and that gives us a few moments just to wait around for people to join in, and any ads that may play when people click on that link to show and potentially earn some ad revenue. And guys, if you're watching, this is the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, Season 8, and we're calling it our greatest hits or best of season because, well, you guys asked for it. And we're pretty excited to have our guest tonight. But before we do that, my name is Jason. I'm the car guy of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. And this chap over here,
I'm Grant Tommy. I'm straight Six Fan on YouTube or Six Fan of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. And yes, as Jason mentioned, it is our greatest hit season. It is bringing back both viewers' choice as well as personal choice. Jason and I really had a thrill and a pleasure to interview Ellie and her dad Matt last time, but we want to hand it on down over to them down below us here and just let them do a brief little intro. If you're meeting them for the first time, that way you get to know them as well.
So we are Ellie and Matt from Ellie's Garage.
Hi.
He's my dad, and we are restoring a 1965 Ford Falcon to become my daily driver, which it already kind of has become, which is crazy to think.
So channel over. Done.
Yep.
And
We've been doing this for almost 3 years now.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of what we've done.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, but we create content so that I can completely do this by paying for it, because they bought the base car and I'm paying for
And then we were
everything.
out.
I'm
That
paying
was it.
for
Just cut
everything
off.
that I want to do to it, which is quite a lot. So having content and people being willing to support me through that is very helpful.
well, that's good, guys. And we appreciate you agreeing to come back and be scrutinized one more time. I'm kidding. We had a lot of fun last time, and that was part of the reason why we wanted to ask you back, because you were such great guests and very, very chatty, very educational. And, we enjoyed it so much. We just could not have you back for our greatest hits. Before we jump into the whole show and the whole interview, there's a couple of housekeeping items that we want to remind people of. Keep in mind, guys, that the Car Guy and Six Fan Show is powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast, and we want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to get out and drive for National Get Out and Drive Day, which is October 2nd, 2022. If you don't know what that is, head on over to getoutanddrive.com, and there is a spot for National Get Out and Drive. You can register, and you can get one of these lovely 2022 National Get Out and Drive Day stickers. Secondly, we want to make sure we acknowledge everybody who's joined us in the chat. Grant, why don't you see who's over there with us tonight?
Well, we have a good crowd right out of the gate, so we're cresting 20 already, and that's good signs. But Jason Rock was in there nice and early. Everything is Broken Garage. Paul Meyer, Uncle Squirrel, Roy Marcos Garage, another awesome YouTube support channel. Will's Wheels, Get Out and Drive podcast, as Jason mentioned. Shop Cat Industries, Joanne Meyer, Wyatt Bush, Martin's Garage, and some few more trickling in here at the end. Robin DeFilo, Paul's Speed Shop, and I think I've touched them all, Jason. But as long as we're talking about house cleaning items, did want to just remind everybody that every dollar given in a super chat on these episodes does put you in a special category, which is the we'll call it the loyalty rewards program, something like that. But we do keep track of that, and we do try to reward somebody at the end of the season. But Jason, enough about us. It's time to to pick the brains of Matt and Ellie.
Absolutely. And so, as you guys know, we've had different groups, pairs of people on the show before. And one of my favorite things about doing what we do is being able to highlight the family affair of people working together. And I think it's amazing. Not only is this a family affair, but it's father and daughter. And you don't see a lot of that. You don't see a lot of girls or young ladies interested in the cars. And again, we talked about this in the previous episode. I got to commend a couple of things. So one, Ellie, for A, doing it and having that passion, but B, allowing your dad to record it and show the world. When I showed up here tonight and these guys got on camera before we went live, I was pretty proud to show everybody. I was wearing my Ellie's merch here tonight. She got a little bit embarrassed. But at the end of the day, you know what? I'm proud to sport this because I'm proud to support other small channels. and it looks like we may have no, there they are. They're moving again. So I wanted to make sure that I asked you guys this one simple thing. How do you how do you promote yourselves other than just being a part of doing what you do on YouTube?
We'll wait for them to hopefully hear us again, and we'll pick up from there.
Guys, if you're hearing us, I think we're seeing you now. I'm so sorry.
Did you catch the question?
Wow.
No.
No. It was give it.
You're very good at that, Matt.
So that's what I got. Actually, that was my answer.
So my question simply was, other than YouTube, how do you help promote yourselves for the world to see?
Okay. That's a good question.
We have like Instagram and Facebook. Oh, my poor dog. But other than that, it's mainly talking about it when people ask me when I'm driving my car, and going to car shows and promoting it that way.
That's kind of the main thing now, because now that she can actually drive it around and it's not in primer where we have to either protect it from water or the sun, one of those two things. Now we can actually, she can take it out to a car show, but also, just your rear windshield gets some. So we on her, you can probably see it if you look through the windshield, but you can see on the back, she's got, Ellie's Garage, her logo, and then, Instagram, YouTube logos, that type of thing. And she was driving around town and got reached out to on Instagram and said, "Hey, I'm someone local and I'm starting a new podcast and a new blog and a new
YouTube channel.
Doing a new YouTube channel. Would you be willing to be my first interview?" So that was actually just a couple weeks ago. Did an interview. They came to the house, did a bit of a shoot and that type of thing. So yeah, definitely YouTube is definitely our main engine, but then we'll utilize, like Ellie said, Instagram, Facebook, but then just actually finally getting to go out. Like we just got back from Falcon Nationals. The National Falcon meet in Kingsport. We just got back there from this past weekend. And that's a great place to just, meet new people in the community. And and that's relatively new for us now. So it's kind of cool.
Well, that's a perfect lead into my question, which I was going to ask about your return from Falcon Nationals. And I know a year ago you guys went as well. And of course, Carl's made a big transformation just in that short period of time. And so I'm curious to kind of get your perspective on what the biggest difference was from year one to year two, or maybe like the maybe friends you met the first year coming back. Walk us through the experience of this year's show, kind of as you transpose it against last year's show.
And specifically Nationals, right? Okay, yeah. What do you think?
I absolutely love it. Last year was in Texas, so it was quite warm.
Also quite the drive.
That
was 900 miles plus one way.
Mm-hmm.
So
which was very fun.
It was awesome.
But took a long time. A lot of our family came down for the first Falcon Nationals that we ever went to, which was really exciting. So it was like a big family reunion and / car show all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first times they had ever gotten to like see my car in person, which is really cool. But I had a blast. I didn't know what to expect. The only thing that I can say that I regret about the first Falcon Nationals is that we found this perfect piece of trunk trim. If you do not know about a 65 Falcon, they have this piece of trunk trim across the back of the deck lid that says Falcon, and it is impossible to find now. They are
at least in good condition.
They are so incredibly expensive, and we found one that was new old stock, and it was $300.
Which we thought
was way too much money.
We're not spending that kind of money on that. Let's keep this in the pocket.
Yeah.
And I heard from a friend that we should have spent like 4 or 5 times that. So it was
the only thing we regret.
We missed quite a steal. But and from my perspective, things that were the same. it's the same community, and that's the thing that we really discovered was the community and doing all of this. And so it was great to see some of those same people.
We met a lot of people at the first Falcon Nationals that were there this time around. So getting to see old faces, getting to thank people who helped us at the last Falcon Nationals. Last Falcon Nationals, as we said, was in Texas. And once we got there, we realized that we had our alignment off, and you could see the wire or the metal.
The radials were
the tires,
literally hanging out of. Because did we talk to you guys before or after Nationals last time?
It was April of last year, so
it was before.
Yeah. We had probably about another 100 yards left to go on those tires before they absolutely blew, and we hadn't noticed it at all.
We had no clue. And two people knew how to do
we were in the right place.
Alignment on a 65 Falcon just in the random parking lot that we were at, and they helped us do that. We slapped 2 new tires on it, and it was good to go.
So yeah, literally those guys got under there and taught Ellie how to do, showed her what the tie rods works. We hadn't got anything on the suspension. Showed her how to do a parking lot tape measure alignment, and they did it, and it got us home, and it was fantastic.
So it was really great to meet a lot of people that we hadn't met before, and a lot of people came up to me and was like, "Oh, I know what you're doing. I've watched your show."
That is what I was going to say was a little different.
Which was really cool. There were like a few people that came up last year.
That's exactly. You took my point. Dang, that's what was different.
But this year there were. Oh my goodness, I am a very antisocial person.
Well, you say antisocial.
I say antisocial.
She's an introvert.
I am an introvert,
but
I have so much trouble talking to people. It is one of my biggest fears. And it was a consistent stream of people coming up to me asking questions about my car, which is the only topic, thank goodness, that I can talk about nonstop.
So it's perfect. So, and that's what I was going to say is that, this, that's one of the things I'm loving seeing is how she's growing through this whole process. But yeah, last year it was every once in a while as we walk around, somebody would say, "Oh, are you Ellie?" That type of thing. This year, it was, she could go about 2 minutes before someone else would come over and, hey, so it was just, but she did great. She loved talking to everybody there. She said,
everybody was really, really nice, really supportive of what I was doing. I think there was only one person that was a little disappointed I put white wall tires on my car, but I mean, everybody's going to have their own taste and things like that. But yeah, everybody was really supportive of what I was doing and were really encouraging and told me to keep going and keep doing it till I was finished. And a lot of people were like, "So are you done with the car now?" And we were like, "No, absolutely not even close." So it was really fun to meet a whole bunch of people that I didn't even know were supporting me because I don't, watch the videos or read the comments or anything like that. So to meet this group of people that almost all of them knew my name and knew exactly what I was doing was really cool. And we got to see people from the first Falcon Nationals. I met new friends, which
and you got to drive around a lot this year.
I got to drive around a lot because I actually can drive now.
So that was cool. That was really cool. Sharing the driving was nice. That was very nice.
Yeah. So when people say they don't like the white walls or they don't like a pinstripe or they don't like a color or whatever, it's not about what you like as a spectator, because, we're not building the cars for everybody. We're building them for us. So it's hard to keep that tongue in cheek when people say stuff like that. But you know what? You say, "Thank you." Thank you. No, I can appreciate that.
My response to him going, "Those are really big white walls you have." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I prefer." Yeah. And then he just kind of walked away, and I was like, "Okay, you don't have to look at my car."
The better to eat you.
So we are going back to Grant's, statement earlier. He said, you've come an awful long way with Carl since the last time you guys were with us. He certainly looks more handsome, and so
looking guy.
Talk to us a little bit about some of the major things. Obviously, the paint's the big one. Talk about some of the major things that you found to be the most challenging during this most recent process. I've been following along, and I've been noticing some of the things like the window channels and stuff like that. So talk to us about what was challenging for you, but some of the things that you had fun with.
So mainly since we spoke to you last, it's been bodywork.
Yeah.
Consistently.
It's been bodywork for the last year plus.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
When we tell people that, they are very surprised because they're like, why would it take you that long to do this? But doing it at a show is a whole different animal than just doing it on your own. But bodywork, I have learned a lot. I have sanded more than I ever thought I would ever sand in my life.
Girls got sanding PTSD. Like,
well, want to.
We were working on sets for a show I was in, and they were sanding down a door, and I went, no, I can't. And I walked away.
No.
I was like, y'all can do that. I've done enough in my life. But it's definitely taught me a lot. It has definitely helped me learn that I cannot be perfect at everything, because I am most definitely a perfectionist. And with bodywork, you could always do more. You can always make it smoother or more perfect, or go over it with another layer of primer or whatever. But it has definitely taught me that there is a limit to what I will do. Because there were times where I was like, Dad, it's fine. I call it. It's good enough. It's my car. I think it's great.
Yeah, we did kind of reach that point where, we did the doors last, and one of the doors, I think it had some old damage, and we had gotten to the point where it was still a little wavy and that type of thing was on the bottom. And it was a thing where, we could do this. And Ellie was just like, we can make it smooth. It's going to be okay. It's my car. I'm going to be all right with it. And we said, okay. And so we voted, shook on it, and we moved on. Finding that was, kind of what, knowing it was for
how
you,
far
and
we
knowing
were willing to
where
go.
that
Yeah.
was. What was something really, really fun as a recently?
Painting was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I was absolutely horrified. So, the painter that helped us paint Carl, fantastic person. He lives 20 minutes away from us.
If that, yeah.
But he basically said that he would paint my car for free if I helped and painted most of the car, and he would get the paint donated. So I did not pay anything for my paint job or my paint, which is mind-blowing, understanding how much money he has people pay him to do this work. So I was shocked that he was willing to do that. But he taught me how to paint a car. He taught me the proper techniques. By the end of it, when we were painting the doors, we had this whole sign language-esque thing in the mask, because we couldn't talk or anything. So we would it was so cool. I felt awesome. I am very happy to claim that I've painted about 70% of this car, and the only 20% that I didn't paint is because I was too short, which I am quite short, so it's understandable. But yeah, it was really inspiring almost to be able to be like, this thing that people pay so much money for, I was able to do that, which is really cool.
Yeah, he really invested a lot of time with Ellie. Really took the time and didn't just. I mean, he gave up a lot of his time that he could have been painting somebody else's car, doing another job. But really took his time, when he was first getting her started, he loaded up the gun with wax and grease remover and had Ellie practice, on the car before we wiped it down, and just little things like that really let her really kind of setting her up for success. And it was so fun to be able to be there and capture it all and watch him do it. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, he was amazing, because a lot of people are really good at something but have trouble, teaching someone else. But he was just so willing to go slow for me, because
really patient,
because I can pick things up pretty fast, but I'm not always the brightest. So there were definitely things where I was like, what were you doing? What's happening here? And he would go over it again so that I could understand, but he was great. Really, really patient with me, made sure that I knew exactly what I was doing to feel confident. It was amazing, and it turned out great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
I mean, the trait just to be willing to ask questions is always one that gets you far in life, and that's definitely one that I appreciate from the younger people I try to mentor at my job from time to time. But yeah, teaching people, teaching that generation below you the tricks of the trade, the tools of the trade, is something that, as Jason mentioned, we are powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast, and that's a big thing over there on their podcast, is talking about how are we making sure that this love of cars, this love of working on cars, is handed down, because there aren't, not everybody has the same opportunities as far as having a skilled painter 20 minutes down the road, and things like that. But along the way, Ellie, on this transformation, this bodywork transformation, if not mistaken, you guys tried the Eastwood roll-on primer. You also, I know, brought in your friends as you could, to help ease the pain of sanding from time to time. As you look back on this year-plus journey, what are some of the things that the lessons you've learned, some of the things that you say, hey, I wish we would have done this a little differently?
So there are a lot of things that I feel like we could have done differently that probably would have made the process easier. Like not using a roll-on primer, and not taking the door hinges off when we removed the doors.
We just learned that one at the not to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but we're making new shirts that basically on the back are going to say we've never done this before, because that's basically our tagline. We research, but the first time we do it, we've talked to people, but it's the first time we've done it, so we're just giving it a good old honest effort. And when we did disassembly, we met with Ed, her painter, and made a date and everything, and we kind of were on track to get everything disassembled. Well, we disassembled everything. So we pulled the doors off, pulled the hinges off. We were very proud of ourselves and how much we had disassembled the car. When we got there, he said, boy, you really took everything apart. We said, we did. We sure did. He said, you picked the hinges off too, huh? Yep. Got them all off of there. He said, well, that's going to make a reassembly a little more interesting. And so we actually heard this weekend about the trick about putting some, drilling some small pinholes at the corners of the hinges, so that when you take them off, you can kind of put little toothpicks back in those, line them back up, screw them in. You've got them in the exact same spot, which I thought was a really cool tip. Next time.
But there are definitely things that I would, if doing Carl again, I would do differently. Like, I would love to have done a spray on primer, but we just didn't have the space, so we did roll on
and the money for it. And I mean,
and
it was
we
great
didn't have
that
the money
Eastwood
for
was
it.
able to give us the roll-on primer.
So it worked out really well in the end, and that's kind of how the whole car has worked out, is that it usually works out in the end. We have some troubles, but we're able to figure it out eventually. So there are definitely things I would do differently. There are definitely things that I wish I had known before I had, put in the windshields twice already.
It's going to be 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of those things of, not so much a thing of, well, I wish I would have done it differently, but it's just kind of, maybe what we would have known of, doing it as a channel.
Yeah.
Not only the pace you're going to go at, which is not as fast because I'm either resetting or we have to, redo, Ellie will, do something, and then we need to go back and get some things for tight shots and that type of thing. But some things just happen, and it's a little bit of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes, because like Ellie said, we've put these windshields in twice, and it's going to be 3 times because we still have to do the headliner. And so, but we've just had to, because, we had to get, the windscreens out so we could prime. But then after we prime, we have to go to Texas. We got to go to Texas.
Yeah.
We got to put the windshields back in, And so when we've done it wrong twice, and we think for time number 3, we think we've got the plan together on how we'll be putting the windshields in correctly this time. So 3rd time's a charm.
But yeah, there are definitely things that I would do differently. There are definitely a lot of things I didn't know going into this project that I'm actually really happy I didn't know. like when we first began this project, I didn't realize it would be a almost 3-year, probably 4-year thing, taking me all the way through high school. But I mean, it's been absolutely wonderful. It's going to be great on my college resume to say that I stuck with it for 4 years, building a car, and that I grew a community. So there were definitely things I didn't know, that I'm actually kind of glad I didn't know, because I doubt I would have done bodywork knowing how much work it actually was. But I did it because I had no clue. But I'm happy with what we've done. So if I had to go back, I'd probably do it all the same, just to learn the lessons that I have learned. And then next car, hopefully we'll do things a little bit better.
We won't say we've never done this before. We'll say we're new at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, it's good to hear you say that, you know, you're learning things, you know, because I mean, everything is new when you're jumping in, you know, head first type of thing. And whether you're in your position or whether you're in, you know, John Meyer's position, who's been doing it for over 30 years, from the Get Out Drive podcast, like, you're still learning. Every time you do it, you're learning, and how you get better is to keep going, keep pushing on, keep, you know, and sometimes it's hard, and that's part of the game is, you know, you're having to put a windshield in twice and knowing you got to do it a third time, or having to do this or that. And part of YouTube is showing everybody in the world how many mistakes you make, right, Grant? But at the end of the day, this is all leading up to, well, Matt, you made a mistake once, and I think you kind of fessed up on that in a recent video. Why don't you maybe just share with the folks who may not know about your mistake? I think that would be a
I mean,
no.
It's
No. Let me know.
more of a difference of opinion than a mistake.
It is not a difference of opinion. I feel very strongly about this. I will just start off by saying I love my dad dearly. He is my favorite dad. Hands down, favorite dad.
Favorite daughter.
He's a wonderful person. We make a wonderful team because we have two very different ways of looking at things. One of us can follow instructions. One of us clearly can't understand.
I'm a creative, people, okay? This is what I do.
So if you don't know, we recently put on weather stripping over the entire car. And one of the things we were most looking forward to was the trunk weather stripping, because it has been out for quite some time. We were looking forward to this quite a lot.
News right here.
I know. But when we were about to put it in, I was looking at the diagram because my dad is usually.
Hang on one sec. I got to jump in here for honesty's sake. So so there it is. So I'm looking at it now. These came from Dennis Carpenter. I'm looking at the Dennis Carpenter diagram, and it says opening of trunk. Thank you for exhibit A. It says opening of trunk. Now, to me, that means that is the opening outwards of the trunk. It just meant, for me, it kind of meant outside. So in that video, you see me saying, I say, okay, well, this is how, you know, Ellie, I've looked at this. I think this is how we're going to do it.
Now, I trust my father without even asking questions. I definitely give my opinion because I'm a very stubborn and opinionated child.
She's logical is what she is.
Logical.
Like her mom, and I need that. And she has great ideas and everything.
But when we looked at it, I was like, Dad, I think you have it backwards. I think this is how it goes.
And I said, no, child. I've got this covered. You know, I said, no, look here. It's the opening of the trunk. And she said, yeah, like the trunk opening, like the trunk. And I said, no, because I put it like this and it's like this. But if you put it like this, then it's like this.
That doesn't work. Now, I am 17. I clearly do not know everything. So I was trusting my dad without question that he 100% knew more than me about this, that he knew what was right in this instant, and I would go with my dad.
The problem came up when I was editing the episode, and I was when I was showing this, I was going to pull up a diagram. So I go online. Usually I'll just find something digitally to find up. Well, when I went online, I went to falconparts.com to pull their image. Well, FalconParts.com has the same diagram that Dennis Carpenter does with one addition. They have another arrow on the other side that says what it says inside of trunk or something like that actually pointed. So it was, and that's when, like on Ratatouille, when the guy eats the ratatouille and his eyes go big and everything kind of reverse zooms, it did that. And so I went over to Ellie.
It was so late at night because he edits in the evenings. So I was going to bed and he said, "Hey Ellie, you remember when you like pointed out that trunk trim thing?" I said, don't you dare tell me I was right.
I said,
and he goes,
well,
we might have to do that again. And I was so furious. Playfully furious, but I was so mad. I have never let him forget it. I will never let him forget it.
That's true.
And it is always the reason he now has to listen to me from now on.
Yeah. It's not every time we open the trunk, but just about every time
I go, wow, the seal looks really
great.
Check
that seal in there, right?
Yeah, and actually put it in the correct way. It's pretty great.
So first of all, I need to interrupt and apologize 100%, Matt, for putting you on the spot, but this was just too good a content not to show again.
No problem. It is definitely not something that has been brought up in the past, but it does highlight, honestly, how we really do work well together. I obviously want her to know that she has not only that she can do hard things, but she has good ideas and that she's really smart. And literally, if you watch some of the show, you'll see when we're figuring things out. And this is how I've always been. Because like I said, I work in creative spaces. That's the work I do day in, day out. And my first idea to fix a problem is always the most difficult, the least efficient, the most expensive. Always. It's because that's not my knee jerk. But Ellie, she's very logical and she comes up with great ideas. And so that was one of the things I wanted to see develop through this show, was for her to see that, no, she has good ideas and they can be better than my ideas. And so I'm going to listen to her ideas. Sometimes I'm still going to push them aside and do the Father Bear thing of no. Father Bear knows what's best. We glue in the trunk seal this way. But in general, yeah.
In general,
that's
he's saying
together.
I always have better ideas.
No, it's not.
That'll be the takeaway, if nothing else, from this episode.
Thank you. An adult said it.
Yeah. Well, Matt, no, I can relate to what you say. My day job's architecture, so I consider myself a creative as well. And I had a mentor once tell me, he said, get your first idea on paper down as fast as you can so you can move on to the next one, because it's very rare that the first idea is the best one. Now, I have found him to be wrong every once in a while, but 9 times out of 10, the first idea is not the best one. but hey, well, there earlier in the chat, and I didn't want to ignore our commenters, but they were asking about the exact name of the color that you painted, Carl. I think someone got it right in the chat. I think someone said Neptune green. Is that the color?
That is the color.
That is correct.
I was very worried when I picked the color that I would get a lot of shade for the color I picked, mainly because it's a 55 color.
Still in the Ford family.
A
little outside the lines.
But it's a 55 color, and I was horrified with myself. But I love the color too much not to paint it on my car. So I got over it pretty quickly.
But it really is fantastic, because so much of your aesthetic has been that mix of 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So
it kind of suits it with the white wall tires. Having a 50s color kind of fits it really well. But yeah, I'm very happy with the color that I picked.
Well, it most certainly works. I mean, and I'm sure much like anything, when involving color, it's probably a lot cooler even in person than what we see on screen. I'm sure there are just things that the eye can't pick up through a video screen that when the natural daylight hits it, I'm sure it's something else. But go ahead.
Unfortunately, I picked about the most difficult color to capture on camera. Because
let's go there.
I was not thinking about the show when I picked the color. I was thinking about what I wanted, which is fine. But it is one of the most difficult colors to pick up on camera because it either looks too blue or it looks white.
Yeah.
So it is impossible to see the actual color
Yeah.
on camera.
It's tough, and actually, it's doing really good right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But yeah, for those of you who want to go, this is what I do. But cameras, you have to tell them what color white is. It's why when you go outside and you go inside, all of a sudden everything looks really blue all of a sudden. Basically, with such a light pastel kind of color that's very close to white, cameras kind of sometimes freak out because they're looking at different things to white balance off of. And so if they're not using the car, it kind of starts, all of a sudden it'll look, it looks like he's got a white car on camera.
Yeah.
But
my poor dad has had to deal with that ever since we painted the car. But thankfully he has dealt with it for me.
Well, one of the other things I was just curious about, and Matt, your shirt is what makes me think of that, the Holley Sniper EFI system.
Yeah.
You guys had that on before we interviewed you the last time, but now that you've had over, well over a year's worth of driving in that system, I'm just really curious, with an inline six, with a car that doesn't weigh a ton, and Holley Sniper EFI, I think you guys went with the 1-barrel version. Like, what kind of fuel mileage does Carl get?
So we've found that the Sniper has been more effective for us in the starting of it, mainly because my dad didn't want me to, when it was cold, have to sit there and crank a whole bunch. So it's been really nice because you just click and it's on. So that has been the main focus of the Sniper for me personally, just a little bit of an easier start to the car. When we first put it on
as far as mileage goes?
As far as mileage.
Yeah, well, when we first got it on there, we didn't know we had a massive exhaust leak.
Yeah.
So we're getting about 10 or 11 miles a gallon. So that was not good. But what the average we're getting on the highway, she's gotten as high as 24 or 25. And then I think around town, she's getting usually at least 20 to maybe 22. Just a little bit over. And that'll kind of vary. I think we were getting a little bit less, actually going down to Tennessee because we had a lot of mountains. And so I think that we were getting a little bit less there. But yeah, the mileage has been pretty nice. People are asking us the same thing at the show. And again, this is kind of being kind of new at this. It's hard for us to gauge power because we did so little driving with it before we took the engine apart.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally drove it home, drove it around a little bit, did some shooting, and then we took the engine out.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for us to tell, is this more power? Is it less? But we've done 6,000 miles in it in the last year. But that really has been the main thing that's been great. So honestly, I think the gas mileage is probably the same, maybe a little better. But really just that reliability of just click, bang, and it's going has been really nice. We haven't got it secured yet, but one of the things we're going to be doing, a tease for an upcoming episode, there's a local EFI tuner that we're going to partner up with, and we're actually going to get Carl on the dyno and rev up that big block 6. But what'll be interesting will be to go and see a really big engine before we go. What happens on a dyno, but then actually have him tune Carl on the computer, and then actually see, does she notice any, performance differences? Do we have any? It's going to be a real interesting way to kind of do, that'll kind of be our review, not just reviewing what it's been like, but then kind of taking another step and getting it tuned to see what that's like, which should be kind of fun.
Yeah, I run the Phytech on my truck, and that's one of the biggest things that I found with it is virtually no warm up and no having to sit there and wait for it before you pull it in gear and go. So there is quite a simplicity to the actual operation of it. Does it necessarily give me more power? No. Does it give me more fuel miles? No. It just simply runs more efficient. And that's kind of what the idea of EFI is on any car, is just to make things run more efficiently. So when you have an exhaust leak, you're going to get worse gas mileage. So we did have a question up there, and somebody's making fun of me again, asking if you find yourself randomly running out of fuel like me. No, I'm sure that you don't, because your fuel gauge probably works properly. You've got
it actually doesn't.
No.
No, that is the one thing on Carl that we cannot figure out why it doesn't work.
We haven't spent time to fix it
Yeah,
yet. Yeah.
we have rewired the car. We have replaced the
Sender.
We
the
have
sender's new.
we have done everything to this car except replace the actual tank. And it still doesn't work. It always says that we're empty.
Well, not always. Like you fill him up and it takes forever to get back up. But then once you get there, he'll be accurate for about the first quarter tank. And then after somewhere in there, and after a quarter tank, it's just, I'm out of gas, you know, and it's just way over to empty.
The amount of times I have been driving by myself and Carl has told me that he is completely out of gas is insane. It's crazy, to the point where I have started like counting how many miles I've gone since the last time I fueled up so that I can finally know if I need more gas, because it's been so frequent that it tells me that it's empty.
Because she's got you know, a really cool digital dash. And so when the gas gauge goes into the warning area, it covers up, you know, you get this whole separate screen that comes up and covers over your digital speedometer and just says, you know, fuel. She's got this yelling at you, you know, for the last 3/4 of a tank. So no, we that is definitely something that
we have been worried about.
We've got to get figured out. But we do have a bit of a trunk restoration project planned. We're going to see if we can upgrade the gas tank, because Holly actually, when they sent us the FI, they sent her a 22-gallon tank. We're going to see if we can kind of get that in there and make that work. But yeah, we still need to get in there and figure out what is going on. I mean, I don't know if it's a calibration. I just don't know.
We have no clue what's wrong with it, but it really likes to tell us that it's completely empty.
Yes.
Did the EFI kit come with like its own sending unit, like a Holly brand sending unit?
It didn't come with it,
but we got one.
Yeah. So the 3 things that Holly kind of sent as separate things, but kind of all together, was the EFI kit, then the Hyperspark distributor, their 6-cylinder distributor, and then they sent over one of their high flow fuel pumps. But the fuel pump is all built in together with the sender. So it's a fuel pump sender kit that just goes in that single insert right on the bottom of the tank, like in the Falcons. And I don't know if the Mustangs are like that, but yeah, so those were the 3. So yeah, it was a whole new unit altogether. So it was kind of.
So we don't understand why it doesn't work.
So yeah, we've got more things to
figure out.
It's so funny, and it's the other thing, doing it like the show. We were just telling somebody this before. You know, we're so busy, you know, lining up the next thing to do. We don't spend time going back and fine tuning. Like there's a laundry list of things that we need to go back, you know, and dot the I's and cross the T's on. Maybe we should just do a, you know, loose ends episode.
Yeah.
You know, we're just going back and.
He had an actual question that he wanted to ask.
Yes.
I forgot.
Rambling.
It was as simple as it was the brass float. It just had a little crack in it, and I didn't know if yours had a brass float, because it kind of makes some sense that it can drain itself out. Maybe it eventually fills up with fuel. That's why it would always drop. But I just didn't know if your sending unit had.
I don't think it was brass. I remember it. I remember it was almost like a little plastic bulb on the end of the wand, if I'm remembering what that thing looked like correctly. I don't believe it was brass. I don't believe it was brass.
But we can always look into it.
Yeah. So I don't know who to start with, whether that's a Holly question or I doubt it's an instrumentation question. So I doubt it's a Dakota Digital question. It's probably much more of a Holly question. So
the fact that we led into the fuel system and trying to get the gas gauge and the new tank and all this stuff, what are some of the next big upgrades that we could expect from the show?
The upgrade that I have been looking forward to for almost a year now is bucket seats. As I said before, I am quite short. I get it from my dear old dad, who is also short. But because of that, I have to sit almost all the way up on the bench seat, to the point where the people in the passenger seat have started complaining about how squished it is over there. So I decided I don't want to feel like that anymore. So I am putting in bucket seats so that I can be as close as I need to and my passenger can still be comfortable. It also gives me cup holders and a center console, which is great.
And along those same lines, I don't like how close she actually has to get, because so what we're actually doing is, the bucket seats are going in no matter what, but we're going to look at how can we possibly move her seating position back a little bit. So we're looking at changing around, even doing a bit of an augmentation on the pedals a little bit, seeing what we can do there. She's got I wasn't going to say extensions. Yeah, I said augmentations. You said extensions. Okay, it's out there now. Yes, pedal extensions. We have short femurs, okay, people? That's how it goes. We can't reach stuff on the top shelf. We have to call someone over. It's embarrassing. It happens. But that, and I Did It is sponsoring her now, and they sent her over a tilt column that should work in really nice with her cruise control and everything. And so, but really that's going to be kind of a whole thing of dominoes that, seat position, pedal position, where's the column. So that's going to be a whole
But it all
thing,
starts with bucket seats.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. We have the covers and the foam and everything and the frames. We actually got the frames from someone who watched our show, and they gave them to us for free.
Yeah, it was somebody I was on Facebook Marketplace making a deal with a guy. When he found it was Ellie, and found out he lived 45 minutes from us. Amazingly, he said, "Oh, she can have them." And so we met him at a rest stop, and he just gave them to her. It was really cool. Really cool.
But that's the main thing that's going to happen. Then we're going to do headliner, of course, which means taking out the windshields and putting them back in again. We're going to redo the trunk, because I don't know if we've shown a lot of it, but it does have some surface rust. It's the only place left with surface rust on Carl. And we want to see how to use it most efficiently. We saw a car at Falcon Nationals that had, if you don't know, Falcon trunks are ginormous. You could probably fit 3 dead bodies in there. Don't ask me how I know that.
We wouldn't talk about that.
But there's a lot of space behind where you would assume it would stop.
Yeah, kind of like from the hinges forward. There's a lot of that wasted space from like the hinges forward to the back of the back seat.
That dips down because of the way the seats are sat. It just has to go down.
Guys, Trey was
crazy. This guy had a 64 Falcon, 2-door, and he had basically a drawer that he had built into it, and it could scoot all the way back. It had a spare tire. It had cleaning supplies. It had all kinds of stuff.
It had this kind of faux front
but he had
on
this,
it.
Yeah, this front on it. So it didn't look like it was there, and it looked like an enclosed trunk.
Pull it and then just slide the whole thing with the spare out. It was
amazing.
That was really cool.
So ideally we would do that, but from the look of the 65 trunk, it doesn't look like it's quite big enough. So we're going to do something with the trunk that will be a lot nicer to put our luggage in.
We're just actually relatively soon doing suspension and brakes. So looking at the front and rear, looking at leaf springs in the back, how do we want to change that around? No, we're not changing a ton of things, but we're going to do, we're going to keep the drum brakes for now. We do have plans for a disc conversion up front. We're kind of kicking that can just a little bit further down the road. But a lot of interior, once the interior stuff, all the stuff Errol was talking about, and suspension stuff, that'll be, I'm sure we can always do something else, but that'll be just about everything checked off the list for the most part.
Yeah, we have a lot of interior stuff that we want to do. And then we have to finish a little bit of exterior stuff, like putting the chrome around the windows.
Oh,
and
yeah, we gotta finish that.
and all kinds of stuff like that. But we are really getting towards the end of the really noticeable changes that we're making, because the big noticeable change was obviously painting. So we're really coming towards the end of things that actually look very different about him. Which is kind of sad to not drive up and people be like, that's a completely different car. But yeah.
Well, you had mentioned, of course, the fuel injection, cruise control, digital gauges. And I think you have retro sound and vintage air units on the car. So it's pretty much checking all the boxes for modern day car amenities. And so it's really cool, Ellie, that you have a car that, um, it's got all the creature comforts that your friends are probably used to. But I'm also guessing that there are just certain things that your friends also just like historically. I don't know. I'm coming from a guy who doesn't have power locks on his truck. Whenever I drive somebody else anywhere, nobody locks the passenger door for me. I'm sure there are things about your car that drive some of your peers nuts. Do you have any anecdotes like that?
So I took my driver's test twice. Shame to admit it. I'm not really. It happens to everybody. Happens to most people. But I had to take it twice, and both times consistently, I took it in Carl because that is my daily driver. Once we got in the car, they did not know how to buckle their seatbelts because it's like an airplane seatbelt. You have to like hold one side and then buckle in. They just started like hitting it, and I was like, "You can like move it." And I had to explain. I was like, "It's like an airplane seatbelt, except it's like a 3-point seatbelt." I was like, "It's not that hard." But I had to explain that to them. And then I also had to tell them how to get out of the car because both times we were done with the test. They said, okay, meet me back at station whatever, and I will tell you how you did. And then they look at the door and they went, I don't know how to get out. And I said, you pull up on the handle. And as people who have older cars would know, you grab the handle and pull up like that. It's really easy. Both times they went from underneath the handle and pushed it up like that,
like they
with like one finger.
I don't know what to do with my
It was
hands.
so funny, and I'm very proud of myself that I did not laugh at them when they did it. Thankfully, none of my friends do that. They all know how to open the door. But that's the only time people have really been annoyed by my car. My mom refuses to drive in my car for long distances because she says that the air conditioning doesn't work well enough, and that her back gets sweaty every time she goes anywhere. So it
is vinyl, but
it's not
just
the
like
best air conditioning, but she refuses
that's
to
the love toll you pay for driving in Carl.
She refuses to drive in Carl for long distances or when it's really hot.
When the heat,
when it's hot,
with the heat.
So,
it's no, but the vintage air works.
It works great for two people because you each get your own vent. But yeah.
What's funny? She talked about her and her friends. We were talking since getting it painted. Mm-hmm. Ellie was kind of remembering old pictures of her and her friends. You know, when we had first gotten it before we ever started body work. Mm-hmm. There's pictures of her and her friends. Wait.
I need to preface by saying I'm sorry. I would like to make a public apology saying that I know what I did was wrong now. And I would like to formally apologize to every car person out there for doing this.
It's important that you admit it.
Yes.
It's important.
But when we first got the car, I didn't really understand how gentle you need to be with body panels. So I have a picture of all of my friends sitting on the fenders and the roof. Someone's like laying on it. We're sitting on the hood. We were all piling on my car, and I look back at it, and I'm absolutely horrified at what I let my friends do to my car. I have a picture of like 6 people sitting on my deck lid.
You were one of them.
I was one of them. So it was something that I had no clue how horrible what I was doing was. But thankfully, it was before paint and everything, and now I don't let my friends touch my car.
So I want to go back to the driving instructor or whatever. Like, if they'd asked me, how do I get out of your car? I'd have said, with my driver's license. Like, come on, that's how you get out of it.
How this whole thing went there, Chuck.
Yeah, see, I should have said that. It would have
been great.
That would have been a good idea.
Otherwise,
yeah.
Come on home.
Well, guys, we are winding things down a little bit here, so we're getting close to closeout time. But I do want to give you guys an opportunity to tell everybody who's watching now or who may be watching in the replay, what can they expect on the next episode of Ellie's Garage?
Yeah, Dad, what can we expect on the next episode?
Well, I'm a little behind. I should be getting our next one out tomorrow, but I meant to get it out earlier this week. It's the retrospective on
Nationals, yeah.
on Nationals just this last week. We usually try to make the car events turn around real quick, but it's been a bit of a tougher week edit-wise. But that's what's coming out there. But immediately following that, the week following will be the...
No, wheels are already out.
No,
Trim.
Yeah, will be the saga of getting all the trim and all the emblems back on the fenders and everything on the side of the car and everything. So that was really cool.
Not as easy as we had hoped.
No, but got it done.
But we got it done, yes.
And Grant, we know that you've been doing a little bit on the Grand Prix. What can we expect coming up in a future episode of Straight Six Fan?
Yeah, so actually, I was telling Jason before Matt and Ellie joined us backstage that I actually feel like I can pump out some consistent content for the first time in I don't know how long. But I'm going to be unveiling the kind of the design episode, if you will. So I did a line drawing, and then I'm doing a complete color rendering and kind of modifying the car on paper first to kind of show you guys what's stuck up here in old Straight Six Fan's head as to where this build might go. So look for that coming up probably within the next week sometime. Jason, what's coming up on Old Car Guy?
Well, you guys know the last video that I put out, the full-length video, was on the Yugo and trying to figure out what the fuel economy was on that. And if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. I'm not going to spoil it. But it was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And in that video, I asked people, would you like to see me do that on the truck or on the car? And a bunch of people said that they would. So we'll be doing a couple different episodes on each of those vehicles, trying to figure out what the fuel economy is on a couple of 70s, well, resto mods, I guess you can call it. And we'll see what we have, and maybe we'll even offer up some prizes to see who gets closest to the miles per gallon. So stay tuned for a couple of those videos. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being a part of the show tonight, pretty consistently around 30 people. That's awesome. I want to thank Joanne for moderating the show tonight, sharing out the people's channels and Instagrams and all that stuff, as well as National Get Out and Drive Day stuff. So thanks, Joanne. And last but not least, Matt, Ellie, thank you again for being a part of the show. It's great catching up with you guys. I'm sure at some point down the road, we'll do it again. If you guys will do it, we'd love to have you back. Thanks for being a part of the show.
Thanks for inviting us back.
Well, we'll definitely have to see Carl off before Ellie goes to college. So if we're still doing Car Guy and Six Fan Show, and then whatever that is next year and a half, maybe I don't.
Right about a year. She's
okay
this year. So yeah, that'd be that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. I'm sorry.
But yeah, let's do it again.
Definitely enjoy the senior year than Ellie. Like, definitely, my advice to any high school seniors, I always said when I was my approach was take it as it comes. Don't wish for it to be over faster. Don't hold on to it, because there are better things ahead too. So just take it as it comes is kind of my advice. But that's going to do it for the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. Just a reminder, it is a joint operation here. So next week it is on my channel, and I don't have my notes in front of me, Jason. So if you can bail me out on our guest, I've already forgotten who that is. Oh, I believe it's Uncle Tony's Garage is our guest next week. Regardless, follow me on Instagram. I try to put a 4-week look ahead schedule out every week. So Matt, Ellie, thanks again. That's going to do it for this episode. To all my Six fans out there, thanks for watching.